Okay. Now we are back live, and we are going to go into the Avalon Municipal Hospital Board of Trustees meeting. Take it away, Ole.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. We'll call it to order, and we'll have a roll call.
What?
We can't have a roll call because Mrs. Roll Call lady's walking around. We're doing the hospital board first.
What is this?
Mr. Hill just gave it to us. Sorry.
No, so sorry.
Okay, Trustee Cassidy,
Here.
Trustee Hernandez,
Here.
Trustee Marshall,
Here.
Trustee Sampson,
Here.
and Chairman Olson.
Here. Any announcements?
None.
None. Any written communication?
None?
I love these meetings. Are we going to have a presentation from CEO Brian Ballard of the Avalon Medical Development Corporation and Mr. Ponce?
Good evening, Board of Trustees. I am representing the board of the Avalon Municipal of the hospital. I am the new board chairman, and we are going to be doing a board training. We're trying to schedule something in September. We have invited the foundation, the auxiliary, and we would like to invite you as the Board of Trustees to also attend our board training so that you understand your responsibilities and your jobs in regards to the hospital. So,
What's the date?
we're hoping, it looks right now that it may be the Saturday of Art Festival. The person we're trying to schedule this with has had some conflicts, so that's what we're shooting for, but we haven't gotten a definite date yet. But I just wanted to let you know that we are going to be doing that and would like to invite you to join us on that.
Cool.
It's
Let us
about a
know.
3-hour,
on that?
4-hour program.
No, not yet.
So.
Okay. Well, thank you and congratulations on your chairmanship.
Thank you.
Lucky you. Now it's Mr. Ballard.
Mr. Chairman and trustees, good evening. My name is Brian Ballard, CEO, Catalina Island Medical Center, reside at 9 Cabrillo. A lot of exciting things have happened since the last meeting. One of the items we talked about was that the hospital board was looking at 3 executive search firms to evaluate who might be chosen to do the search for a new CEO. And the decision has been made. The firm Witt Kiefer and Associates is a distinguished firm that enjoys a superb reputation on a national basis and a very strong base in California. The principal that is going to be working with the board is Mark Andrew. He comes out of the Irvine office. He is going to be in town on Tuesday of next week meeting with the board in closed session to be able to get specific input from them as to specific priorities, attributes and such that they would like to see for the next CEO. And then on Wednesday morning, he'll be meeting with members of the medical staff as well as the senior executive staff to get their perspective on what's happening at the hospital. We should have a pool of candidates toward the end of September, possibly early October, and I would expect by end of November that the pool should be narrowed to a top candidate for the board to be able to start moving ahead for consideration at that time. So the objective is to make it happen sooner rather than later, and I think we've got a good team that's going to be able to accomplish that.
Awesome.
An initiative that the board has approved since the last meeting is to engage an individual to conduct a community needs assessment and a health resource planning process. A lot of words, but essentially it's going to be somebody who's going to be spending time with the community to be able to understand what their priorities are as to how they want healthcare delivered, the types of services that they would either like to have expanded or to be able to have new services. The analysis gets into the demographics of our community as to different environmental attributes, any disease process that may be a part of our community that perhaps is not being addressed, and what can be done with that as far as better serving our community as a whole. This will also then be an initial step in a multi-step process of starting to identify options of how the existing facility will be able to be used in the future as we move toward that deadline of 2030 with the California Seismic Code, where something substantial will have to be done with that facility, either major seismic upgrades or replacement of the facility itself. So I think that the positive aspect of this particular approach is, A, it's happening, and B, it's not being done with a lot of written surveys. In fact, you're going to find as we get more information out to you that it's very heavily into focus groups. So there's a large number of large and small focus groups, plus the plan is to have 2 community-wide opportunities for the community as a whole to be able to come and describe their priorities and to provide input. That report then is expected to be completed and provided to the board by November of this year. I think it'll be a very useful tool for the board as well as for a new CEO hitting the decks as far as having this recent assessment of the community and feedback from them as to how to move forward. When I was last with you, I described that the individual who serves as the manager for the medical group office, our clinic, after 3 years, she was moving on to other opportunities. This is the person that deals on a day-to-day basis with the physicians as far as moving them in the right direction, trying to keep things on time as far as appointments, dealing with staff schedules and such as that. I am pleased to announce that we have a new manager, a registered nurse who just started yesterday, Amy Marda, who has come to us from the South Bay area. She was previously in a clinic that saw around 50 patients a day, so that's higher than what our current activity is. We see around 18 to 25 patients a day. She comes with very high recommendations, and I think that she'll make a big difference, a continuing difference in the service that we offer to the community. We're also initiating a patient satisfaction survey process that will be through telephonic survey means as well as utilizing some email. It's a company called Avatar that is based in San Diego. It's pretty prominent on the West Coast. It's not something that the hospital has had a strong presence with the community in recent periods of time, but with this, I think that that coupled with some of the other studies that we're doing are going to enable us to stay better in touch with the community as to what, how we're doing and areas that we may need to improve. You have already met the star. Mr. Ponce was elected at the annual AMDC corporate meeting as chairperson. The vice chairperson is Conrado Vega. The treasurer is, I'm going to pause on this, aren't I? Because it's Katrina A. Walt is the treasurer and secretary is Lisa Moss. So you have before you tonight then a recommendation from the AMDC board for the final position that is being proposed to you, and that's Dr. Monty Mellon. Some of us are familiar with the fact that we have been working hard to recruit Dr. Mellon to consider being a member of the board, and he's had some questions that he wanted to make sure were addressed, and those were addressed. And so the AMDC board is unanimously recommending to you then that Dr. Mellon be appointed to the board. Any questions on any of that information?
Any questions?
No, but this whole document, I happened to read it, it was very good. I mean,
Which document is that?
all of your
All the reports.
all of your reports. I mean,
Good.
it was really thorough and good. Thank you very much.
We try to eliminate surprises. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard.
Thank you.
Let's see, you got the presentation. Oral communication. This is the time for anybody from the public can speak at this time. No action will be taken on non-agenda items. Speakers should limit their comments to 3 minutes each. Do we have any oral communications on the hospital? Flocking to the podium, just running. They're knocking people. Okay, none there. Then I guess we'll do the consent calendar.
Yes, 2 items on the consent calendar. Board of Trustees actions from the June 16th Hospital Board of Trustees meeting, as well as the CEO and CFO reports dated June 16th and May, respectively.
Questions from the trustees? Questions from the audience? A motion?
I'd like to move to approve the June 16th Hospital Board of Trustees actions.
What about number 2?
And we'll throw number 2 in there, which is recommending to receive and file the reports.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Perfect. General business.
Yes, one item, as Mr. Ballard mentioned, there is the requested appointment of one additional director to the Avalon Medical Development Corporation Board. It is Dr. Monty Mellon, as Mr. Ballard alluded to, who has received unanimous support from the board as a candidate.
Trustee discussion? Public discussion? Motion?
Make a motion. Appoint, yeah,
Make a full motion.
absolutely. Appoint Dr. Mellon to the Board of Directors, the Avalon Medical Development Corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Is there a second?
I second it.
Any further discussion?
No?
Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Thank you. The chair has no report. Members' reports.
None.
No?
Yeah.
I guess we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, and now we will go back to the, what? I know. Oh, well, now we're coming back to the Avalon City Council meeting. And we have not yet done the Pledge of Allegiance, so let's do it at this time.
Roll call first.
Oh, we got a roll call again?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Meeting.
Oh, God, I forgot to hit the gavel. I'm sorry, Joseph.
Don't be.
Denise? Roll call. Oh, we got it.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Here.
Councilmember Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Here.
And Mayor Marshall?
Here. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And Councilman Sampson, would you please lead us? Thank you.
Ready and begin.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Okay, announcements.
I think we took care of the one I was going to bring up, which was switching the order, so we took the hospital board, so that was it for those for me, Mayor.
Okay. Written communications?
Yes, we did just receive written communication from Mr. Bill Hill regarding the proposed new Vons project and water. I've not yet had the time to read it, but I did just receive it.
And is this when I should make a statement when I've received a letter? Or do it under city manager reports? Mayor reports.
Probably Mayor report.
Okay, city manager. Okay, there are no presentations today. City manager?
Just two brief things. As reported out in my weekly update, I did attend and participate in meetings with the Island Consortium this past week, as well as a discussion regarding residential or individual, if you will, desal. And again, those are both included in my weekly update that went out. That's all I have.
Okay, city attorney report?
Nothing to report this week.
Okay, council members, who would like to go first? Olio?
I guess so. I attended the same meeting that Mr. Harvey attended with the Water Consortium and some Edison officials. It was a very interesting meeting. A lot of good information came out of that. When I was in Sacramento last time, I did stop by and visit some friends of mine at State Lands who I was associated with when I was working under Two Harbors. Grace Cato was our specialist that took care of our mooring leases and such, and she's been moving up the ladder. Drew Simpkin is now the person in charge of the island state lands issues, which will be the leases for Two Harbors and the Island Company and the piers around the island and such, and our lease out at Hamilton Cove. So we just popped in, said hello, was there about 2 minutes and bailed.
Okay. May I talk about that for just a second, though?
We can talk about anything.
Okay, of course, thank you. As you know, when we heard about this the last meeting, I was kind of taken aback by it, especially in light of the fact that a letter had just gotten sent up to the State Lands Commission with the way with the letter that got sent to them, excuse me.
Right.
So I guess I thought the timing was pretty inappropriate to be going. You went up to go to conferences, and we do have, you know, council policies regarding going to different conferences and things that increase our awareness and whatever. I think, though, to go up to a legislative body, especially when something is kind of contentious at this point, it's just kind of, I don't know if we need a policy to say, hey, if we're going to go see policymakers, we better know what we're going up to talk about or not to visit them. I don't know what your thinking is, but, I mean, I could have, you know, it's, because perhaps you didn't even discuss the letter, but when you say that they're the same guys that are going to be dealing with the leases, it just doesn't, it's not, the perception.
I
is
understand
not
that, I understand the council procedure, and I did not discuss our council action. I'm just shaking hands, saying hello.
Okay, okay. I just think we should be cautious of that in the future when we're going to see some kind of a legislator or a policymaker or decision maker on such important
On
issues.
that same trip, I visited our state senator, too.
Oh, I know, and on those, we didn't just send a letter to him on anything. So it was just because of the timing of it, only just.
The meeting was scheduled, I was up there.
I
know,
resonate your
but you did.
concerns as well. I
Yeah.
resonate your concerns as well.
You might not have had, you might not have had to go in there or something. I know we don't get an opportunity, but other than to say hi, good old, you know, it's just, I'm concerned about our perception when we go out and do things like this. It just makes the community a little uneasy.
And
So-
if I was politicking against the choice of the council, I would be concerned, too. But I understand that the vote was taken, I abide by the vote.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I wanted to clarify. Okay. Anything else to report, Mayor Pro Tem?
I don't think so.
Okay. Councilman Cassidy?
I have two, and Mayor, if you will allow me a few moments, I would like to just make the rest of the public aware of my own personal views and a commendation to Harbor Patrol Officer William Flickinger for his efforts in saving the life of a visitor in Avalon Harbor. And I would like to read a letter that was received on his behalf, and I would like members of our community to know this letter. Dear Commander Bray, also known as Harbor Master Brian Bray, this past 4th of July was simply the most enjoyable 4th we've ever had in our adult lives, due in no small part to the outcome of an incident that took place on Friday, July 3rd, 2015, around 10 o'clock inside Avalon Harbor. Had the outcome been different, there would have been a horrific black cloud hanging over the entire town. An emergency 911 call for help was issued for a young man spotted floating, motionless, face down between boats. Avalon Harbor Patrol Officer William Flickinger was the first responder on scene. His assessment of the situation and immediate response saved this young man's life. When Officer Flickinger pulled him on board his patrol vessel, with the help of the young man's friends, the victim was not breathing, his eyes were rolled back, there was white foam coming from his mouth, and his skin was blue. The victim's hysterical girlfriend tried to administer mouth-to-mouth, but Officer Flickinger instructed her to concentrate on rapid heart CPR compressions while he rushed his patrol boat to the lifeguard dock and the awaiting EMTs. By the time they arrived at the dock, the young man's heart was pumping again and his color was returning. Shortly thereafter, the young man sat up, spitting out salt water and asking what just happened. Without Officer Flickinger's immediate and perfectly executed professional decisions and response, there is no doubt this young man would have lost his life. Stories like this never seem to make the news, and we feel Officer Flickinger deserves to be recognized for his heroic actions, along with the entire Avalon Harbor Patrol, Avalon Sheriff's Department, and Avalon Lifeguards for providing boaters and visitors such a wonderful and beautiful place to visit. Avalon feels like being in a foreign country while still having all the amenities and emergency services America offers. Without each and every member of fine Avalon teams of professionals, the island simply wouldn't be the same. Thank you all for helping to make this our favorite destination in the world. Michael and Kimberly Folks of The Vintage. So thank you, William, for all of your efforts. And since it's all fresh in our mind, I would also like to give a shout out to our very own City of Avalon Fire Department and also Los Angeles County Fire for what I consider to be a flawless execution in last night's fire command and attention to the emergency of fire on Clarissa. thank you very much for all of that you guys do for our community. And last night was a great example to bring that to the forefront of our minds, that sometimes we often set back a little. So that's all I have today.
Cool. Exactly. I was going to also give out kudos to the fire department and Chief Krogan. What a great job. I happened to be right behind my house last night. And the old fireman still in me, I kind of went out and just checked out things. But I tell you, it was a pleasure. Got stand by, so a couple of the volunteers were in the back area shutting off stuff and listening to the radio chatter from the years back when we first started. It was a pleasure how calm and collective everybody was from top to bottom, and it was just a pleasure to hear that. It was just kudos to you, Mike, and your crew. Good job.
Good job, Frank. And adding to Cindy's comment about Shoreboat William, we also received a letter from Walt Puffer. Congratulations, Shoreboat William, on the outstanding action you took in saving a boater's life over the 4th of July weekend. And when 911 was received, you found the victim floating face down in the water between the boats. You are not only trained in how to respond in emergency situations, but the fact that you promptly implemented this training unquestionably resulted in the saving of a person's life. You knew what to do and how to do it. As a longtime boater in Avalon, I can only say how proud and appreciative all of us are of the efficiency and expertise regularly demonstrated by you and your fellow harbor patrolmen. Walter Puffer.
Way to go, William.
Yeah. I also attended the same meeting with Pedro Pizarro from Southern California Edison. A couple of things, well, this is just a housekeeping thing. At some point, will we be getting the accounting for the 4th of July extravaganza?
Yes, you will. I was just speaking with the Recreation Department about that, and we will be bringing that back to you. Part of what we're continuing to receive, and Councilmember Cassidy will attest this, is some additional donations.
Okay.
So we're not going to wait much longer, but we are receiving some additional donations, which will give a better picture.
Okay, excellent. And looking over the city council goals, and I talked with Ben about this just the other day, and one of our city goals was to work on a needs assessment for recreation community services. And so I believe that's a process that we're going to start going forward with, and in kind of not parallel, but when Brian was talking about the way they're going to do their needs assessment, I say very similar into the focus groups, and we can even do telephone, but I'm glad we're going to start getting on that.
We'll bring back a proposal for you guys, and sorry, a proposal is probably the wrong word, a concept for how we could roll this out.
Okay. And I would just like to say, on behalf of the community of Avalon, we lost two more wonderful people in our community within a week. Fergie, as we all know him as, but his real name is Burton Lynn Ferguson, passed away, I believe, a week ago Sunday. And this last Sunday, we lost Bill Meister, who has been a resident of Avalon for a number of years. Many of you probably had an opportunity to know him better than I, but he and his dog Biggie, we would see every morning, and anyway, they're gonna be, are we gonna miss Biggie already too? So Biggie already went down? Okay, so Fergie and Biggie are together, so. Okay. Oral communications. This is an opportunity for people in the community to address the council on a non-agendized item, and you will be limited to 3 minutes and no action will be taken.
Can I just have one question?
Oh, please.
Did we get the signature from Edison about the desalination plant?
I'm glad you brought that up. We need to get that over to them.
Okay. Yeah.
They've been asking for that.
Yeah, I had some constituents ask me, is the desalination for sure going forward?
The good news is it's been ordered and it's on its way, but yes, absolutely, we need to get them that document, and we will.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. That's great.
Okay. No?
Okay.
All righty.
Wait.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Oh, Jen? Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Want to dance?
Good evening. I just have a couple of quick announcements from the Recreation Department. The first is I wanted to say a big thank you to the Public Works Department in their assisting the Recreation Department with the installation of our brick campaign that's across in People's Park, and it looks wonderful over there. It's such a well-used area that it's nice to see the pavers go in. I think it'll make a nice, clean impression when you go into the park. We're intending to do that in a number of locations, not just this, but this will be the first area, and you can still purchase your personalized bricks. It's a great way to memorialize a loved one, to celebrate an anniversary, to call attention to your boat, you know, any number of occasions. And so if you'd like to find out more information about purchasing a brick, we have 2 different sizes for 2 different prices, and it's available from the Recreation Department. You can also go to that'smybrick.com/AvalonCA, and you can buy it right online there, or you can come into City Hall, and we have the applications here as well. So a big thank you to the Public Works Department for completing that project. We're very excited. The next is that you'll have hopefully noticed the digital community signboard is up and running in the Vaughn Supermarket. We've had a lot of compliments on it, and we'd like to remind community members that run organizations that if you have a community announcement that you would like posted on the community signboard, that is exactly what it's for, obviously, as well as our City of Avalon correspondence. And so we've been calling attention to programs and meetings that the City of Avalon runs, and that's what's namely been up there, but we're welcoming community organizations that would like to post their announcements on that board as well. And for more information, they can also contact the Recreation Department here at City Hall.
Jen, can I add something to that,
Yes,
please?
please.
Dave Hart, last week, I believe, he gave me a proof to go over, and I have not gotten back to him, and it was in regards to, I think, what the mayor had requested, a policy on, like, who can put stuff on that monitor at Vaughn's, and what's the process, so we'll get that to you.
Yeah, we've completed our standard operating
Thank you.
procedures,
Couldn't
our
think of
SOP for the digital signboard, and we'd welcome your feedback, and if you have any little tweaks to it, but we, yeah, so that's available for your.
My main concern is, for now, well, besides when we discussed, no transparency. It just sometimes it doesn't get turned on at Vaughn's. So I thought maybe it wasn't working.
It's working. It's just
working.
the on
It's
button.
just
It's
getting somebody to switch
consistency.
hit the switch. But is there recognition to the Catalina Island Yacht Club for their donation?
Yes, thank you. Denise reminded us that that's a major concern, and we are working with Vaughn's to put a permanent display above the board on the wall that will recognize the yacht club for their contribution in making that possible.
Okay.
So
If you're not, can you just run a tagline on the bottom, like a floating tagline or something?
yeah, we could. We
Until-
could certainly do
I mean,
that.
I didn't know that you would need to make a plaque. I just thought it would be.
Well, what we were envisioning was like a vinyl lettering above the signboard that says the City of Avalon in partnership, you know, with the Catalina Island Yacht Club.
Okay. All right.
So that people would know
Yes.
where the board is coming from, who's
Yes.
in charge of it, that kind of thing. So,
Okay, great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Almost done. So I wanted to remind the public and our business community that the RFP is out there. We're looking for proposals for a leasee for our Joe Machado Field concession stand. So any interested parties, your proposal is due by July 31st. And that full RFP is available here at City Hall. To collect, it's, I think, also available on cityofavalon.com. And then lastly, the AYSO soccer registration will begin in August. That's our biggest youth recreation league here in town. And we are looking for interested coaches and referees. If you would like to throw your hat in the ring, we would love to accept your volunteerism. So if you're interested, or you know a neighbor that's interested, they can come to the Recreation Department and get more information about the season.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay. Any other? Okay. Consent calendar.
Yes, Mayor, we have 10 items this evening on the consent calendar. Let me go through them briefly. You should have received some additional actions at your seat here in the dais, so that we have actions from June 16th, July 7th, June 29th, and July 10th. Special and regular city council meetings. We have warrants in the amount over $2 million, an EFT of about $170,000, and payrolls over $700,000, for a total of $2.9 million. We have an item coming back to you for second reading, the expedited permitting for small residential rooftop solar systems. We have an ordinance amending the municipal code regarding excavation permits, also coming back to you. We have a continuance of an agreement with the interim chief financial officer. We have a continuance of an agreement with the planning consultant. We have a consultant contract for the stormwater permit year 2 compliance. We have a revised trust agreement for the Pebbly Beach landfill. An item dealing with the voting delegate and alternate for the League of California Cities annual conference. A drug-free workplace and a DOT alcohol and drug testing policy. And I believe that's it. Those are all 10 items on your consent calendar this evening.
Mayor Marshall, I would request that item number 7 is pulled just because the consultant was able to make it over today, and he might be able to answer some questions that Councilmember Cassidy has, as well as give you a quick summary of the stormwater MS4 permit.
Yes, perfect. Great. Okay, council, what's your pleasure on the other items?
6 and 8 and 10 for me, please.
That's what I was gonna go 10.
Okay. I dropped my packet. It's all over the place now.
Right.
Okay, there's that one.
6, 8, and 10, okay.
Just for me.
6, 7, 8, and 10.
Oh, there were, okay, good. I thought-
7.
Okay. Oh, yes, okay. So what's your pleasure on all the other items?
Move staff on 1 to 5 and 9.
I'm Bill Hills, and I was on the island in 1919, my first trip. So I've been around a little while. But there's plenty of salt water out here. We can desalinate that salt water and have all the water we want, and if Vaughn's closed 2 stores and open 1, there's plenty of water. Water is not a problem. All we need, and if the city put in a desalination plant, they should put in their own power generator, because Edison charges too much for power. So that's right off the bat. The problem with the Vaughn store, it shouldn't be there where they're putting it. And I've got, if you read what I sent to you, there's a little article of the traffic at the corner of Sumner and Beacon. And the count comes at sometimes as high as 400 an hour. Vehicles go through that corner. Yeah. You're going to add 80 cars coming to the thing, and there's no place to park. Their little lot will not park 20 golf carts. They should be forced to put at least 50 off-street parking and not build without doing that. And it's up to you to first just make a deal going right now to have a study of that corner at Beacon and Sumner. Make a count of a whole day. They had a camera on it, and their report showed 88 arriving, but didn't show exactly how many there'd be per hour go by. And they're playing games with us. They made when they put the story poles up, my daughter went over and talked to them the day they were putting it up, and they knew at that day that it wasn't the right height. But they left it 7 feet short on one, they left 4 feet on the other, and a couple of weeks later they came back and fixed that. Yeah. Then they came along Beacon Street, and they looked like there was a big parking lot there. Well, there wasn't. They came back and took 20-some feet, so they're playing games with us. So be careful of them. And it's a corporation, and anything their men have said here in 20 years or 15 years in the court wouldn't stick for anything because, and you can't even tell me today where their office is.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, it's in Arcadia. They got an office that controls, but you don't know who owns it, the company that owns it. It's something bad. But the city of Avalon must make a traffic study. You can vote that in tonight, that they just go down there and make a study.
Mr. Hill, with all due respect.
And they should demand they have 50 off-street parking. And I have a plan where they move the building 100 feet north.
No.
Put a golf garden in that parking lot and put 50 off-street parking. Now, if they didn't want to do that, they could go over in back of the TV building and put a new building in that parking lot, open up because they own, the Island Company owns the buildings, or some of the buildings there, put parking and entrance there off of Sumner, and eventually that whole block would sell to Vons for a parking lot, and it would be decent. But to build a building they're talking about that'll be there over 100 years, and you have to think 25, 50 years from now. The traffic on that corner will increase in 25 years. You can just bet on that.
Mr. Hill, as you are aware,
And I can't hear a word
I
you
know
say. I've
you
been
can't.
sitting here all night because I'm deaf.
I know. Well, there are 3 people on this council that will be voting on the Vons store. So we have all received your
Yeah,
information.
they must.
And
They've got to move.
so we have
And
heard.
if they go where they are and go under or over,
Right.
the traffic problem will be worse at that corner.
Yeah, okay.
All they will do is just make the traffic bad. That's why you have to have a good traffic study.
Thank you very
you,
much,
Bill.
and thank you for coming up here.
Thank you.
And you've got that to read.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Got one.
I know, thank you. Okay,
I move staff on item 1 to 5 and 9.
1 to 5 and 9. Is there?
Somebody already seconded that, didn't they?
Did somebody already second
I
that?
don't
I
think
only
so.
heard the first.
I am.
Okay.
Richard, you did?
I think I seconded it.
Okay, Richard seconded.
I don't remember.
And
I'm only 60.
Is there any comment from the audience? Okay, let's call for the vote.
All ayes.
Okay, we're moving on to item number 6.
Okay, item number 6 is the proposed continuance of the continuance of one agreement with the planning consultant and an additional temporary agreement for temporary supervision of day-to-day activities in the planning department. The first agreement I mentioned is for a not-to-exceed amount of $25,000 for things such as the update of the Avalon Local Coastal Plan and other planning services. The second is a day-to-day supervision of planning department activities for now until around the August 14th timeframe while we have a leave in that department. And I'd be happy to answer questions you may have on this item.
I would be happy to address these as 2 separate items, if that is the pleasure of the council. I am happy to move forward with the not-to-exceed amount of $5,000 to secure Mr. Flint through August 14th. But I have some other reservations regarding the other contract, and so I would respectfully request that either we take those as 2 separate items.
2 separate items, fine with me.
would be
I
good.
agree.
That's okay with me too.
So again, I'll just drop the stone on one. I would be happy to make a motion to approve Mr. Flint's not to exceed amount of $5,000 for temporary supervision of day-to-day activities in the planning department through August 14th.
Second.
Any other comment? Been moved and seconded. Call for the vote.
4 ayes and 1 no would be Councilmember Sampson.
Okay, as far as the continuance of the agreement not to exceed amount of $25,000 for ongoing planning services, I would not be able to make a favorable motion towards that at this time. So
I need more information.
Yep.
I would like some more information. I would also like to include this as part of either, don't believe that we can include this as part of tonight's closed session for performance evaluation, but it is probably something that we should talk about further
fine.
before. So do I request to hold that over then? Is that the appropriate?
You can continue that. You just hold it over to the next meeting.
Okay.
Sure.
And then if you could let us know what additional information you'd like to get, we can supplement the staff report, if there is any.
I'd like Mr. Flint, or this particular position, to know that the way they go about their job needs to reflect the policies and the visions that the city council has, not exactly what he wants, but what we need for the community. And I don't think that's happening in that position with him there. I'm not too happy about that at all. I'm not saying that Mr. Flint can't learn how to do what we need him to do. I'm saying that we need to teach him if he's gonna be in there. If not, we need to put this up for an RFP and get somebody in there that we all agree that is gonna do a good job for the future of Avalon.
Okay, so we will move on to item 7.
Okay. I
Okay.
believe Daniel Apt is here with us this evening, and as Denise indicated, we'd like to bring him forward. He actually put on a tie for the occasion, so,
Boy, he regrets that, I'm sure.
yeah.
I was hoping Daniel could just give you a little summary of the whole stormwater permitting process and how he's helped us in this last year and a half, I think, already, so.
Great.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Mayor, City Council. Thank you for allowing me to give a short description of the item before you today. So the city was designated back in 2012 with the adoption of the small municipal separate storm sewer system permit. The city enrolled with my assistance, and I also assisted with the year 1 compliance. The stormwater permit is designed to ensure that urban runoff, and when it rains and there's stormwater runoff, that pollutants are retained on site and not discharged into the precious receiving waters, in this case, Avalon Bay. The city's also been subject to what's called a total maximum daily load. That is a fecal indicator bacteria, TMDL, and I've also assisted the city in helping to ensure compliance with that as far as the stormwater side of things. So so we've helped with compliance in the last year. There was a variety of different things in year 1 that are identified in the permit. The permit is a 5-year permit, and we assisted in year 1. There was a variety of different things, including construction compliance, developing a construction runoff management program, some training, and so forth. Year 1 was fairly straightforward. The permit was set up that way to ensure that new municipalities like the city of Avalon could achieve compliance. Year 2, however, which is before you today as far as my contract goes, is a lot more significant with the amount of requirements. There are 15 items identified before you in the staff report that need to be achieved prior to October 15th of this year to ensure that the city stays in compliance. I could do a quick summary of those different activities if you would like. So the first activity is the TMDL implementation report. So as I mentioned before, the city is subject to a total maximum daily load. And there's a variety of different activities the city has to engage in to reduce bacteria contamination in Avalon Bay. A report of those activities has to be submitted to the regional board for review. So it's essentially a summary of everything that the city is engaged in, both from the stormwater side of things as well as from the sewer side of things to reduce bacteria inputs into the bay. The next one is developing a comprehensive public education and outreach program. That program is designed to educate the public on, one, what the city is doing to reduce stormwater pollutants from reaching and receiving waters, but also engage the public to identify things that they can do on their own to reduce those pollutants from getting into the bay. The third item is the construction training program. In year one, we developed a comprehensive program to reduce the pollutants associated with construction sites. The city has a comprehensive program to inspect those. This item is identified to train city staff to go out and do those inspections. The next one is the pollution prevention and good housekeeping program. This is associated with specific municipal facilities, making sure that all the different activities that go on at those municipal facilities are implemented to prevent pollutants from getting into the stormwater system to begin. There's also a public involvement and participation program. This is designed to engage the public and actually have them participate in meetings to provide their input on how the program should move forward, get their ideas, and actually have them engage in things such as stormwater stenciling, where you stencil storm drains so that everybody essentially knows where the stormwater is going. The next task is an outfall map. So there's a requirement to develop a map of all the outfalls within the city that drain to the bay. There's also, the next task is an inventory of industrial and commercial facilities. So there is a requirement within the permit to inventory all the industrial and commercial facilities within the city so that city staff know where there could be a potential source of pollutants. The next task is illicit discharge identification procedures. So if there is a discharge of pollutants within the city in the stormwater system, it is a requirement that the city investigate those discharges and identify the sources and then eliminate those sources. So this task is to develop the procedures for city staff to be able to do that. There's also, similarly, a non-stormwater investigation procedure requirement. So if there is urban runoff, dry weather runoff that occurs within the city, any dry weather runoff that occurs, it's a requirement that the city investigate the source of that dry weather runoff and eliminate it. Especially critical in the drought that we're having now as well. There's also a requirement to develop an inventory and a map of all the municipal facilities within the city. So that's the next task. There's also a requirement to develop an assessment of all the storm drains within the city to make sure that there is no leaks. There's also no discharges into those storm drains from sewer or other potential sources. And so there's a task here to develop an inventory and a map, an assessment of a procedural assessment of the storm drain system. Just a few more, and then I'll be done. There's a requirement to develop procedures on how to address landscaping design and maintenance within the city. So for specific city facilities that have landscaping, whether they be medians within streets or just landscaping essentially like on city hall properties, to essentially maintain it to reduce the amount of pollution that comes from that landscaping, producing fertilizers, pesticides, and so forth.
Oh, okay.
The next one is probably the most comprehensive one of everything that I'll talk about, and that's called the Post-Construction Stormwater Management Program. The idea here is as the city develops or redevelops, there are requirements to implement physical, structural, what are called best management practices. These are systems that are designed to accept the water and either infiltrate it into the ground or filter that water, removing the pollutants before it discharges into the stormwater system. So for this, there is a comprehensive program that needs to be put together. that provides guidelines to developers in the city as well as to any municipal projects on how to integrate these systems into development projects or municipal projects. There's also, as part of that, there's a comprehensive training program, and then also updates to the city's municipal code to integrate and require development projects to implement these requirements. This is probably, like I said, the most comprehensive, and it takes the most effort to be able to put together a comprehensive program. It takes the most engineering and so forth. So pretty comprehensive. And then the last two, the second to last one is called the Program Effectiveness Assessment and Implementation Plan. The city is required to take a look across all of the different requirements they're required to implement through the stormwater permit and evaluate how implementation is going. So there's all the year 1 requirements and the year 2 requirements. And the idea here is to assess it, make sure that it's being implemented in the most efficient manner and it's being implemented properly. And then what kind of effects is that actually having on downstream water quality? So looking at water quality data, looking at what are the results of actually implementing the program. And then the last one, there is a requirement to submit an annual report to the State Water Resources Control Board by October 15th. This is actually a pretty straightforward procedure. It's through an online program called SMARTS that was developed by the State Board, and you go through and identify, verifying that all of these aforementioned 14 tasks have been completed, and then you also upload the TMDL implementation report as part of that. And that task is to assist the city with submitting that report. So that gives you a comprehensive overview of what's required this year for compliance, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of tasks to complete.
So are you going to be, so at the end of this, you provide us with some big manual, I imagine?
It's a series of different guidance documents, but yes,
Okay.
procedures, yes.
Okay, and when you talk about the public education and outreach, is that done by you, or are you teach us and we go out and do outreach?
So the public education program is essentially, it's not just I give you what it should be, but develop the information that can be posted on a website, put on flyers. So essentially you have what you need as a public program. There are specific requirements associated with it, and all the details. That there's a lot of different options, and that would be something that we move forward with the city on what's developed. But you'll have a comprehensive 5-year plan for public education, and it will be tailored to in coordination with the city on what would be most appropriate. And I've already developed essentially one education component as part of the TMDL compliance, so I have a pretty good idea of what the target audiences are within the city and the makeup of the residents.
And so you give us these different procedures, but we do all the implementation, and we create the annual report.
Actually, I create the annual report online, and then essentially the city manager will have to verify that, certify it, and submit it. But I develop the annual report.
Okay, so you'll get all this to us by October, and then we have to go to
Yeah,
work.
essentially, all of this needs to be completed by October. You'll have that in case there's any audits from the State Water Resources Control Board. And then the only thing that actually has to be submitted is this TMDL implementation report, because it's a little bit different.
Okay.
The State Board in this permit changed from a format of submitting everything to them. They just don't have the staff to be able to review it. However, if they would like something, they will request it in the form of an audit.
Okay.
I would like it noted that Daniel has worked very closely with Sean Haggerty in the past in the year 1. So they're very familiar with one another, and Sean Haggerty is our lawyer from BB&K for the cease and desist. And this was a budgeted item in this fiscal year.
Yes, it was. Okay. Questions, council?
No, that's great. Thank you so much for that update.
Yeah. All righty. Thank you.
How do you pronounce the name of your company?
Olanu.
Oluwanu?
Olanu, yes.
You Hawaiian?
No, it's actually, the term comes from both Spanish and Quechuan. Ola is the word for waves, and unu in Quechua is the word for water, so wave. My wife's Peruvian, so I had to give her a little bit of a nod.
Give her kudos.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 7.
So, how about if I make a motion to execute a contract with Olanu for not to exceed amount of $70,320 to assist the city of Avalon with compliance with the year 2 requirements of the small municipal separate stormwater system MS4 permit.
Great.
Second.
Second, both. Any comments? Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Item number 8.
Yes, Mayor, item number 8 is a revised trust agreement for the Pebbley Beach landfill. This item comes to you from the city attorney's office as well as the chief administrative officer. So Denise, I don't know if you or Scott want to give the brief update on this.
This is part of a 5-year review for the landfill, and there is a trust agreement. For the longest time, I kept mixing up the trust agreement with the closure and post-closure, and it was like learning Greek to me to figure all this out. And so I did have the assistance of BB&K at Joshua Nelson, and unfortunately, the amounts of what we need to put into the closure, post-closure trust fund has increased, which we did put into our budget this year. Wasn't it like $64,000 extra this year? Yeah, because they want us to get to a certain number. And that's in the event that we have to close the landfill, what it would cost for everything in closing it.
State regulations have changed in terms of what we have to do when we close landfill, in terms of monitoring pollution, water contamination, etc. And so the state is requiring us to have the money collected so that when we close the landfill, there's cash available to pay for the 30 years of monitoring that we have to do as required by state law. And in order to do that, we have to enter into this trust agreement, which basically puts this money in a trust where the money is in a lockbox. It's a dedicated fund, can't be used for anything else, and that's for what happens after the landfill is closed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your pleasure? Anybody want to discuss this? Okay, being no discussion?
I don't remember pulling that one. Did I pull that?
Yep.
Yeah, you did.
I apologize. I apologize. I was too many to
Okay.
pull.
Move staff on 8.
Staff on 8, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, call for the vote.
All ayes.
Okay, item number 10.
Yes, item number 10, we do have our HR manager here, Tiffany Bowes, this evening. I'm going to ask her to give you a little bit of update on it, but briefly, this is to bring the city into compliance with DOT regulations, allowing for a drug-free workplace and alcohol and drug testing. So I'll ask Tiffany to come forward because I suspect that there are a couple questions about this, and she is our subject matter expert.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Before I received an update when we arrived tonight, my question was first and foremost going to be what was in place prior to this draft policy?
There was not an official citywide policy for drug testing. However, I do know that our Harbor Department and Fire Department did conduct testing and requirements with their licensure, and they can comment on other types of requirements that they've been meeting. I do know that we've been doing pre-employment drug testing citywide for all positions.
Citywide. Okay.
We also have language in the personnel rules that address things like reasonable suspicion.
Right.
And so that has been in place, and the city has been adhering to those for a long time.
Right, right.
The notable about this policy, in addition to truly bringing us into compliance with DOT regs, is that it allows for random drug testing for safety-sensitive positions.
Now,
As well as reasonable suspicion testing.
okay.
Right.
And this is top to bottom? Everybody gets tested? Top to bottom? Supervisors, everybody?
You have to be in a safety-sensitive position to be a part of the random drug testing program, and that's not because managers or supervisors may not want to be. That's what the case law allows for. So only those in what's deemed a safety-sensitive position.
Positions of fire
Right. And so
patrolmen, firemen,
However,
public works,
Code enforcement.
code enforcement.
yeah, it's our position, and it's written in the policy that HR will create a list of safety-sensitive positions, and those will be developed based on ongoing discussions with the union as we develop those, and we'll be having conversations and review with them on that. But it is also the city's position that non-Department of Transportation positions are also subject to testing with reasonable suspicion and with pre-employment and other cases. It's the random testing that only applies to the safety-sensitive positions because we're proposing a zero-tolerance policy.
Has everybody had a chance to go over this? Enough time to go over this with you, or has it been short notice, or has it been plenty of time for everybody to look at?
The unions have
opinion.
had this policy in their hands for 4 months. We've been in regular discussion with them. There were some additional changes that took it out of the supervisor's hands and routed all of the decisions for disciplinary actions and those kinds of things through the Human Resources Department, so that we would maintain objectivity and maintain the random testing protections for the employee, where it would be, we would protect the privacy of the employee in the testing process. And we did meet with the hospital today, the CEO there. The fire chief was present, the harbor chief was present, and our finance officer was present, and we talked through the policy. It's going to take 60 to 90 days to implement because it requires that we properly train our supervisors, properly train our employees, have the employees sign the policies, the acknowledgement pages, and then it also requires the implementation of a software application that randomly pulls the employees' names for random drug testing in compliance with the law.
I'd like to get more input from the departments. Personally.
Shall we, maybe we could ask Harbor Master Bray and Chief Craig, have all of your employees had an opportunity to review this?
Their management.
Mike Krug, Fire Chief, 420 Avalon Canyon Road. My understanding is no, that it's only been drafts at this point. At this time, it's only been seen by union representatives and whatever they've shared with the membership.
Okay, so
But
not everybody's.
As of today, there were still drafts going back and forth.
Okay,
Okay. And how about with you, Harbor Master? Same?
so,
If I could, though, in fairness to administration, we have been circulating, versions that are pretty close to this for a long time and received no input. So the protocol is that we push them out to the associations and ask that they share them with their membership. You can make the request. That's the appropriate way to do it, is through the associations, and I just, it's not as if we've been holding something that didn't get pushed out.
I understand that.
I know the association has it. I don't know whether or not they have got anything back. I mean, I got a copy of it in the association negotiation 2 weeks ago.
Okay. I know we did get, I think we all got a letter from one of the employees, one of the safety employees. And, I don't know. I mean, I can believe that they've been floating out there. I don't know if there's due diligence not being done. I'm not saying it at the top here. Through the members, I don't know. It's just, we just got something dumped in our lap to take a look at, and I know we can't knee-jerk to everything, but I'm wondering if...
We're happy to bring it back. I guess my point being that we've been working on this for a long time, and iterations of this have been out there. They might not be exactly like this particular version, but the spirit has always been the same, and I've been long talking about how we're going to eventually not only come to compliance with federal law, but have a random drug test policy. And if it were my choice, I would have everybody be subjected to it, but that's not the way the law works.
And the only comment we received back was Friday afternoon at 3:45, which is why the council received the last-minute changes.
Yeah, okay.
So we're happy to bring it back, that's fine, but I just want you
I'd-
to know this has been out there for a long time.
I'd like to see it come back, and I'd probably like to get a little, maybe some more input on it. I mean, I didn't finish reading all the way through it, but I'd like to get a little more time to
That's fine.
walk through it.
Yeah.
Just got this.
Well, and I would think to encourage department heads to encourage their staff to get a copy of it somehow, and respond back to you and give us the input. I mean, they don't need to be coming to us, but we really would like. We need to get that in.
I could add one more thing. I mean, the other, if there is going to be recommended changes through the, for the policy, I would defer to Tiffany on this, but it probably needs to go through the collective bargaining process and then, you know.
Okay.
So you don't, it's not the type of, the city is welcome, we could certainly adopt a policy and we can share that with the associations. If they want to modify the policy, then that would need to go through the collective bargaining process.
That's a very important point, because we are in negotiations with all three unions. They do have the ability to add exemptions or provisions and request those during the negotiations process as part of their MOU. But it's our position that citywide the policy is as presented, and it complies with the federal regulations.
Well, why, let me just ask a silly question. If it's a federal regulation, why is there a negotiation and a negotiating
That's
possible?
my question.
So parts of it, particularly the part that deals with random drug testing, there are components of that that could be subject to the collective bargaining process if they want to recommend any revisions and they're in accordance with laws. In other words, you can't recommend a provision that says we're not going to do, you know, specimens won't be taken or
Right.
whatever it is. I mean,
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Well, council, what's your pleasure?
I'd
I
like
would
to bring
like-
it back. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I would like to see the policy as a whole with the changes made. I think what you gave us tonight was just where you had made the changes. Is that correct?
That's
They're
correct, the redlined,
sort of a red line
underlined
version of it?
sentences.
Okay. So admittedly, I've not had an opportunity to read this because we just received it. I read the original document, but I'm just a little concerned now not adopting a policy that I haven't fully read through, especially in consideration of employees. So that's
Absolutely.
my reason for asking to bring it back. I'd be happy to hear it at the next council meeting if we could.
it'll actually have to be at the second one in August because of the appeal on the next meeting. We're not scheduling anything else.
On the 4th?
No, it'll be on the one after that.
Oh, the one, okay.
August 18th because of the bonds appeal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, I think we've got
Okay.
direction to bring
That's
it
fine.
back and give us the red line copy. And I guess, I don't know what I'm looking, how the funneling through the staff thing will go. I mean, I kind of hear what you say. Wouldn't it be nice to just have a policy that's just kind of citywide and you don't have to MOU this and MOU that?
Believe me, we would love to do that if that was possible. It's not possible
not
in
possible.
2015.
Okay. All
Okay.
right, what do I know? Okay, I'm learning. All right.
I mean, if it's the pleasure of the council, we could try to schedule some information meetings to be available to talk about the policy as proposed, if anybody has input they want to give.
I mean, I understand Harbor and Fire know that they're going to be involved in this somehow, but when you get down to Public Works, because I don't know, maybe everybody's driving a vehicle, so.
We've been very candid with the public works staff, explaining to them that because of the type of vehicles they drive, the type of machinery they operate, that they're safety sensitive. Also
they're safety-
also code enforcement too.
Okay.
So if you're, for example, if you're incidentally driving a golf cart down to pick up mail, that's not a safety sensitive position. Okay? Does that make sense? So like if you go to pick up the mail from City Hall, maybe once or twice a week, that's not safety sensitive. However, part of your job every day, you're driving a truck around, you're out using jackhammer, you know, those are safety sensitive.
And they can't get in a car wreck either?
No, that's not the point. The
that's not
point
the
being random drug testing and what
Oh,
and
I see.
who's included and who's not included.
It's against a lot of random everybody?
That's right.
Okay.
Right, only with safety sensitive. And the union reps that we've met with for the General Employees Association have actually been in favor of this policy because they feel that they've shared with us that we have not necessarily been consistent in the past in administering the policy. So they're in favor of it because it is so broad and covers everybody consistently and has protocols in place.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, we'll pull that over to second meeting in August. Okay, general business.
Yes, Mayor, we only have one item under general business this evening. That is the proposed awarding of a contract for a water development plan pertaining to recycled water. Dennis Jayich has spearheaded this effort for the city. We've received 2 bids. We are recommending awarding the bid to the lowest bidder, but Mr. Jayich is here to speak on this item and can answer your questions.
Good evening. As part of the goals that we've all tried to establish, we'd like to try to bring reclaimed water to the island. The first step is a feasibility study, or we're calling it here a master plan study, to make it short. It involves many tasks that are on your staff report. It's a first step. The reclaimed water will not happen without this. So I'm here to answer any of your questions for you. If you're not familiar with the task, I can read them for you. Or if you need more information.
I spoke with Dennis a little bit about this today. I had some of the couple of the RTAP people read the applications that came in from two people, two of the folks, and the third one didn't get under the deadline. And anyway, and there was a little bit of a concern on the RTAP folks on the bid that's being recommended here today. And what I was hoping for was that Dennis and one of the RTAP folks, like a Rob Goslin or whomever, could sit in to see if the questions are answered simply with the RFP that was before them. Because Rock made a comment that maybe there was something missing. And if something missing is, whoops, to throw that in, it's $20,000, we're back to where we started with the original RFPs. And then we would need to perhaps go out to bid with some changes. But, so, I mean, I could say, yeah, let's go, I could vote yes on this, but I'm just concerned, and as Rock was, once you sign the contract, then this is what you're going to get, unless we can kind of do a pre-signing with the guy for clarification.
I don't understand.
Well, and good.
No, I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay, well, I'm saying that we could approve this and it probably would get done, but when I had a couple people from RTAP read it, they said maybe there was a little something that...
What was missing?
He wasn't specific. I wanted him to talk to Dennis about it because I'm not a reclaimed water expert. But I thought if there was a way they could work it out in a conversation with it over the phone.
As a suggestion, we could certainly bring this back. We could allow for a discussion with the entire RTAP group or a subset of it if you want, that we could.
Yeah, it was a public bid. You can not accept it. You can go out to bid again. You can hold off and review the situation more. You have a lot of options.
I mean, nobody's more excited, I think, than us about trying to move forward, but with funds being limited, we want to make sure whatever we get, what we're going to receive will answer all the questions we're going to have and make sure there's a complete system developed. And both proposals are somewhat different, even though they ask the same questions. So.
Yeah, we received 2 bids, frankly, from 2 wonderful companies that I've got complete confidence in. Ours were close. The way they are going about their tasks are a little different.
They know their business.
I'd love to work with each one of them.
Yeah.
City manager, and we decided to go with the $30,000 lower item. But you have your options. Yes, sir.
Have you done a little background on any of these? I mean, how's the work performance for other jobs they had or other cities they had? I would think that maybe they would know what they're doing, but have you done a little background on the company?
Yes.
You have?
Both,
Any bad stuff, or is it
no,
all good stuff?
No, all favorable. Both people. As a matter of fact, the RFP required them to submit a resume.
Yeah, so.
So we have all their background
And they
information.
all have lots of this,
Right.
lot of background in reclaim, a lot of background.
They're specialists in this industry.
So I'd feel pretty
And
comfortable with that.
Yeah, and the RFP, when it went out, did you receive any comments from the RTAP group up until this point?
Actually, one of the RTAP members or advisors helped develop the RFP, and he's,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But the company he's working with is the higher bidder, unfortunately.
Okay.
How does this materialize for the city? What do these bids require of us working with these companies? Where do they start? Where do they finish? What's their priorities? I mean, things like this?
They have tasks that they have to follow. That's the way they bid. They made their presentation to the city in the public bid. And they're going to be monitored. We'll have to monitor them. But the city will not have to do anything. This is a feasibility study.
Okay, so they'll have their own equipment. They'll be bringing that over, and
It's
we'll just
not-
be assisting with that? Or
It's not construction. It's implementing phases, developing energy.
It's concepts, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. And they can get a good idea of that just being on, I mean, they have to be over here. They have to get around, correct?
Oh, definitely, they'll have to come.
Okay,
Oh,
so we will need to support them somehow with
Yes, sir.
maybe vehicles or some
Yeah.
equipment, social aspect of where they go, who they talk to.
Right.
We'll need somebody on the ground knowing where our storm drains are, how the energy grid works, where our water comes from, where it goes to.
Yeah.
Potentially, what harmful elements are involved in this, correct?
Well, the city's going to have to be very involved, as well as environment strategies, and all of
Okay,
us, yeah.
Okay. How important is it that we move ahead with this? I mean, I know we've all had this at the top of our lists, but can you give me any
I just,
input?
as a little, not a reminder, but a thought, you guys have budgeted for this. This was an item that you decided was important, that you included in your adopted budget, $70,000 for this proposal. It's one of your goals. It's one of your stated council goals. Specifically, you talked about trying to pursue reclaim water and what was involved with it. So it squarely aligns with what you said you wanted to do. And like Dennis is saying, this is, and then Councilmember Sampson was indicating this is conceptual. This is going to be giving us the roadmap so that we know where we need to go. It's not going to create the project. It's going to tell us what the projects might be. I think it's very important.
Yeah, it is.
I agree.
It is. I got a little nervous when I got, somebody says, well, maybe it's not quite on the mark. But I trust Dennis, and I know Dennis can talk to the company and.
And as a reminder, Council, Mr. JH has built reclaimed water plants before,
Right.
so he certainly knows what's involved with them. The city attorney's been involved with these projects.
Yeah, actually,
so.
Dennis and I built a plant up in Lake
Well, don't-
Arrowhead.
don't
Lake
share
Arrowhead,
that with-
yeah.
okay.
And it's still working.
Okay.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
Today.
Like yourself, Mayor, I struggled with it. Both of these contractors or consultants are phenomenal. They're both good. I'm hoping that whatever you do tonight, that the second bidder, HDR, is going to come into play in designing and actually implementing the construction project.
Right.
I think the other nice thing for the council, and then I'll shut up, is that I know you get a lot of pressure from people asking you, what are you doing on reclaimed water? What, and this is going to, well, actually, we just,
No, it's wonderful.
and it's going to identify the components, and you're going to have an idea of what's really involved, because it's not a little deal, it's a big deal, but we need to know so we can start trying to monetize this and start making this a priority
Right.
to
Oh, no, I
realize it.
just, when I heard a little hiccup, I just wanted to chat with Dennis. I trust him 100%.
We have concerns. We're going to be monitoring them.
Yeah.
No matter who they would be.
Right, exactly.
My only request would be, I would like to see the finalized agreement between the city and this?
It's your
Contract.
standard consultant contract that we use, but you can
Right,
see it.
yeah. Could you just forward a copy via email once it's finalized?
Sure,
Okay, that would be great.
yeah.
I'll make a motion.
It'll have all the tasks and everything.
That's
like-
exactly what I'm
Yeah.
looking for.
Yep.
Timeline, tasks. Okay.
Yeah, the end result, we will get a report.
End result is going to tell you how you can make reclaimed water. It's going to give you dollar values, what it's going to cost. It's going to tell you a lot. It's a conceptual study, how to implement reclaimed water, in
Okay,
essence.
and it'll probably also give us some choices as well. I mean,
Darn right. And it's going to go after funding. It's going to exhaust efforts to find funding, state, whatever kind.
because this might be a tiered process. I don't see it getting done all at once, so
Yeah.
I like
Step
your
one.
staff report. It's good.
And it's going to take a while. It's going to take probably 10 months to complete this thing.
Okay.
We'll be paying them as we go along.
And we would like a motion unless there's no comment from the, okay.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with Michael Baker International for the project described as Data for Master Development Plan and Recycled Water Subplan.
Second that motion.
Yeah. Oh, let's call for the vote.
All ayes.
Thank you, council. Okay. Closed session.
We have 3 closed session items: public employment, personnel investigators, conference with labor negotiators, again, personnel investigators, and public employee performance evaluation, city manager.
Ben, can we send our city staff home?
Just did.
Oh, you did? Oh, great.
The Brown Act, you only have to report out on 7 particular actions.
Oh, okay.
You ready?
Okay.
in.
And we are back. Council?
No reportable action.
Okay. Good night, Tony. Meeting adjourned.
7 hours.